So today, we're going to dive into an ancient text with a purpose that's, well, razor sharp, to shave away all our ignorance and reveal the one truth that explains, well, everything.
I mean, think about it for a second. What if you could ask just one single question and the answer revealed the secret of the entire universe? Not just a little piece of it, but the one central truth that makes sense of everything else.
Well, believe it or not, thousands of years ago, a student actually asked his teacher that exact question. The answer he got became the Mundaka Upanishad, an ancient guide whose very name comes from a Sanskrit word meaning to shave. And its whole purpose? It's right there in the name. It's designed to shave away ignorance like a razor, leaving behind only the bare truth.
So this whole journey, this incredible text, it all kicks off with one single, kind of gutsy question, a question about everything.
So this student, a great householder named Shaunaka, he goes up to his teacher and asks this: "Oh, venerable sir, what is that by knowing which everything else becomes known?" And you gotta understand, this isn't about collecting more facts, right? This is a search for the master key, the one single principle that unlocks all of reality. And the teacher's answer is, well, it's now what you'd expect. He doesn't just give him a fact. He completely blows up the whole idea of what knowledge even is, splitting it into two totally different categories: lower versus higher. And this distinction is honestly radical. The teacher calls the first category Apara Vidya, or lower knowledge. And get this lower knowledge includes the 4 sacred Vedas. Yeah, the holy scriptures themselves, plus rituals, grammar, astronomy, pretty much the entire body of religious and worldly learning. It's all considered lower because it's intellectual, it deals with a world of temporary things, its goal is stuff like success or maybe a short trip to heaven. But Paravidya, higher knowledge, is something else entirely. It's not about learning texts, it's the direct personal experience of the one unchanging reality. And its goal isn't heaven, it's moksha, total final liberation. Okay, so if even the most sacred texts are considered lower, that obviously leads to a pretty sharp critique of how people were practicing their religion, right? And that brings us to the problem with rituals. The Upanishads just comes right out and says it, with this absolutely stunning verdict on ritualism. Frail indeed are these rafts of sacrifice. The fools who acclaim this as the highest good fall again and again into old age and death. I mean, wow, that was a revolutionary thing to say back then. A direct challenge to the whole system. So the way the text puts it is that these rituals are like leaky, frail rafts on the vast ocean of existence. Think about it. A raft might get you some temporary rewards, maybe some good karma, a trip to a heavenly realm, but it's never ever going to carry you across the entire vast ocean to the final shore. And the text, it really doesn't pull any punches here. It calls the people who are just obsessed with these external things fools, staggering to and fro like blind men led by the blind. And the real point here is that these actions, when you do them without that higher understanding, just end up feeding your ego and your desires, keeping you trapped in the very cycle you're trying to escape. All right, so if rituals are the leaky rafts, what's the real ship that can take us all the way? Well, this is where the Upanishad shifts gears from critique to actual practical instruction. It lays out what you could almost call a technology of meditation. And it does this with this incredible, beautiful metaphor: the great archery. Okay, first up, the bow. The text says you take the sacred syllable Om as your bow. It's the tool you use to focus and gather all your spiritual energy. Next, you've got the arrow. That arrow is you, your individual self, your Atman. But it has to be sharpened by intense meditation. A scattered mind is like a blunt arrow. It's just not going to fly true. And finally, the target. The target is Brahman, that absolute unchanging reality. And this is the real kicker. This is the whole point of the practice. The instruction is that, quote, like the arrow, one should become one with the target. So the point isn't just to see the target or to hit it from a distance. The point is to merge with it so completely that the separation between you and the ultimate reality just dissolves. Now, to help us wrap our heads around the state of realization, the text gives us another powerful allegory. This one's called the eater and the witness. So picture this. There are 2 birds sitting on the exact same tree, and that tree,
That's your body. The first bird, the individual soul, is just frantically eating all the fruits on the tree. You know, the sweet and bitter experiences of life. It gets happy, then it grieves, it feels bewildered and powerless. But then there's this other bird sitting right there on the same branch, the Supreme Self. And it's not eating anything. It's just watching. Totally untouched, silent, and completely content.
Okay, so what's the solution here? It's actually really profound. The text says liberation happens at the exact moment the grieving, frantic bird finally stops, looks up, and sees that calm, witnessing bird. And in that moment, it realizes that the peace and the glory of the witness is its own true nature. So freedom isn't about finding tastier fruit, it's about realizing you're the one who's just watching the whole show. Now, this ancient wisdom, it didn't just stay in some old dusty scroll. It had a huge, lasting impact that we can still see today, which brings us to how truth alone triumphs. You've probably heard this phrase before, even if you didn't know where it came from. Satyameva Jayate. It means, quite simply, truth alone triumphs. And yeah, if that sounds familiar, it's because Satyameva Jayate is the national motto of India, written right at the base of the national emblem. But its original meaning goes so much deeper. Satya, or truth, isn't just about not telling lies. It's talking about that ultimate unchanging reality, Brahman. The verse is saying that reality will always ultimately win out over the world of illusion and falsehood. And this text was a massive inspiration for modern spiritual leaders, especially someone like Swami Vivekananda. He was famous for championing its call for strength, constantly quoting the line, "This Atman cannot be attained by the weak." He saw it as a call to build up our physical, mental, and moral strength to be able to handle this incredible journey of self-realization. So, what does it actually feel like, this final state of liberation? It's a huge question, right? Well, the text gives us one last beautiful image to try and explain it. It says that just as all these different flowing rivers, each with its own name and its own form, just disappear into the vastness of the ocean. In the exact same way, the enlightened person, totally freed from their individual name and form, merges into that absolute divine reality. And all of this leads to the final, most powerful, thunderous conclusion in the entire text. He who knows that Supreme Brahman verily becomes Brahman. You see, it's not that you learn about the absolute. The act of truly knowing it is the act of becoming it. So the text says that the one who knows the absolute becomes the absolute. And that just leaves us with this huge question to chew on. What if the greatest truths aren't things we just learn? What if there's something we have to become with our entire being?